Hello, classmates. So, my initial plan spans over 5 years, and I'll dive in with the skills and experience that I intend on improving. So, the two identified was legislation, the knowledge that I require to kind of fully understand the legislative practices in HR. And then, secondly, was the new hire orientation. So my plan for increasing my knowledge around the legislation is that I will create a database that I can reference and subcategorize into different issues pertaining to different employment law and common law practices, and that will help me gain a better understanding, and I will also create a lovely database for myself and may add potential value for future employers. My second idea in improving my new hire orientation skills is volunteering at festivals and volunteer heavy events where I can work with the volunteers coming in and assist them in their orientation, make sure that they understand everything comprehensively, they feel knowledgeable and as though they are humans and able to complete their duties. So that is my plan for my skills and experiences. Moving on to how I will improve my education. So I will complete this certificate program in approximately 2 years. And then along that timeline, I will register as a candidate with the CPHR and become involved in that organization with the hopes of in approximately 5 years being a certified member. And then moving on to my skills that may be impeding me or inhibiting me is my need to do things to a very high standard and my lack of ability to build relationships. So those are two areas that I'm focusing on that I believe will make me a better employee. And then the ways to become more effective in my role is implementing AXT. So I plan to move most of my duties over to fillable forms that are on the internet. And then also using the Google Forms so that I can collect data and implement strategy to make my current firm more effective and serve our clients better. For my second assignment, the 2018 Deloitte Human Capital Trends assignment, I looked at organizational performance. And so how Deloitte talks about this is the shift that they are seeing in the surveyed company's intention behind shifting their structure to a more team-based structure. And so in the article, it talks about how approximately 70% of the companies surveyed articulated that they intended to shift their organizations towards a team-based structure. And it highlighted that we're seeing a lot of research coming out on the effectiveness and the efficiency that teams are capable of versus kind of single employees that are attempting to contribute. And it did list a few of the barriers in the way. So one of them being that C-level executives are not necessarily going to be comfortable or willing to make that shift at their level. And additionally, that it will be hard to make that shift with the logistics of current organizations and how they function. And so this is definitely something that I think we'll see evolve over the next few years. However, I don't believe no one's projecting it to happen overnight by any means. And so the textbook highlights this area under organizational structure, and it speaks to the traditional ways that we look at org charts and what came out of the Industrial Revolution out of necessity. So managers, supervisors, single contributors, and people being accountable for special duties, and then the people that they were accountable to, ensuring that they met quotas. The primary difference I see is that the textbook is working with data that spans a large time frame, and I think we're seeing the current economy move a lot more quickly, and so we will see this trend evolve much more quickly than we've seen the last 2 decades of evolution in organizational performance. And I think it's a really exciting area to watch and be mindful that you could make your company a lot more effective if you started structuring people in teams. So for my takeaways of this class, I'll just start listing them. So my first one was develop strategies to beat your brain. Start with only a little bit and little things. So I think that was great advice. The suggestions to just open up the document and take, just do one thing and trick yourself into starting. And then once you've learned something, it's very difficult to unlearn, and then it's difficult to remember how you've learned. So I think that's a great perspective to have when trying to train people or help people understand something that you may have mastered already, to really try to put yourself in their perspective. And thirdly, that common sense equals experience, skills, and knowledge. So I think that's really important, because a lot of us often give ourselves too much credit, thinking that I just naturally have so much common sense, and it's important to realize that that was an accumulation of your experiences, your skills, and your knowledge. Fourth, if you struggle to say no, find better alternatives to no. I really like that one because I am a fairly black and white person, so I think it's really good to challenge myself to try and be more dynamic. Fifth, incompetent managers, become their best friend and manipulate them to your advantage. This is also great for me because I am a little bit stubborn, and I definitely need to focus on that moving forward. It also ties back to building relationships. 6, change implementation. So do that effectively. Start with departments instead of the whole organization. I think that's just a brilliant idea, and I'm definitely going to utilize that going forward. 7, build a balanced team. You only need one Gretzky, so I think that's just a really good thing to keep in mind when you're creating teams for your organizational performance. 8, open door policy is the worst policy for efficiency. So I definitely think that's just good to note, especially in the HR world, as that sometimes is noted as a best practice. 9, baby steps to mitigate breaking the law. So I'm taking my baby steps, and I'm going to try to start building a database and increase my knowledge so that I don't break the law. And 10, getting a job 101. So fine-tune your resume to a neutral resume, become an active member of the community, and attain a mastery of the position, and then take on more responsibilities. So I think that's just a great kind of final thing to always come back to ensure that you're being a really competent professional.